Pete Kiko, an auctioneer and realtor. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Ben Pigeon. He's a closing coordinator for us here at Kiko and comes with years of experience working for title companies. And we discussed kind of what to expect throughout the closing process. Take a listen. We've kind of split this apart by, you have your loan originators, you have your homeowners insurance, you have all of these steps along the process, but the final process is closing. What does this look like, or what can buyers and sellers say? I'm a first-time buyer or a first-time seller. When the agent tells me, hey, we're heading towards closing, it seems to be like this hurry up and wait process. So there's a lot of stuff right now, and then it goes quiet for a while. But that's on our end. On your end at the title company, that's where you guys are probably humming in here, right?
Right.
Yeah. So explain that process a little bit.
So when I was at the title company, from the time you get the purchase agreement, and like I said, a lot of times with auctions, not a lot of times, just about every time, the search has already been done.
The title search.
The title search. So as a escrow officer or closer, what you try and do is you review that search title commitment and see what is needed in order to close.
Okay.
When that search comes back, there might be issues, such as there might have been a issue with dower. Ohio's a dower state,
right.
So if you're married, your spouse needs to sign off. Maybe a couple deeds back, somebody's spouse didn't sign off. So you got to get all that stuff corrected.
Clean up that title.
Clean up that title. So a lot of times when it is an auction, you can do that. Also, surveys. So the county will stamp certain deeds, legal descriptions.
If this property sells, we need a new survey.
Right. So exactly right. When we're doing an auction, we usually know that ahead of time because we've gotten that search about a month ago. So we, like you mentioned earlier, we can line up a surveyor or a couple to do that. So there's step one as title company. Step two, you get the purchase agreement. So now you have buyer, you have seller. Obviously, you make your introductions and go from there. Buyer, you, first-time home buyer, of course, you're probably going to get a loan.
Right.
So you pick your lender. Your lender then contacts the title company, and they'll request what's called a commitment for a loan policy. Okay. So to kind of simplify it, title insurance it's a type of indemnity insurance. It protects the buyer for the lifetime. An owner's policy for title insurance protects the buyer for as long as they own that property from anything that may come up that would cloud or inhibit them from having ownership in that properry.
Like one of those steps that we talked about.
One of those
before.
steps we talked about,
Yep.
maybe a missed dower or as crazy as like an illegitimate child comes up and says, well, my dad or so-and-so is unable to sell this because I was supposed to get it. Or that can happen years down the road.
Exactly right. So that what you're talking about here is that title insurance.
Title insurance, yeah. Right. So that's what's called an owner's policy. There's kind of two different types. There's an owner's policy, covers the buyer, first-time home buyers, and it will protect their interest in the property for the amount of what they bought it for. Right. It's certainly a benefit to get it. Then there's the loan policy. So you talked to a lender earlier, and I'm sure they may have mentioned possibly that that in order to kind of have a good, secure loan, you want to make sure that you can foreclose on that property. I mean, as weird as that may sound, but you want to make sure if something happens,
we have that value.
You have that value, no matter what. So that's the protection that the lender is getting in title insurance. Right. Is
it's you as the buyer. If you can't pay, we're protected.
Right.
Is what the bank is saying.
Well, yes and no. So they want to make sure that because there is mortgage insurance as well.
Right.
Where if it's defaulted on the buyer's side, and you could get into that with your lender, but for the title insurance, that lender wants to loan on good property.
Right.
So if the house is half on somebody else's property, you want to know that. because they're not going to give you a loan.
Right,
You know,
exactly right.
And that comes up.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that happens because if they were to try and get their value back out of the money they loaned, well, half the house is on somebody else's property.
Right.
So you want to make sure, you know, that's an important part of the title company.
In that
what they
process
do.
of looking into all this,
Exactly.
kind of taking a long look at the lineage of the title,
Right.
And making sure that it's like you say clouded, which is a great word.
Right.
It's a legal word. It's not a clear title.
Yeah.
It's not clear. It's that there may be issues. So
Sure.
And with these, we talk about these insurance policies briefly, but with these not insurance, but these title, I guess it is insurance policies. Generally, they're pretty cheap. Like $30 to $70 somewhere in that one.
Yeah, well, I think it's mainly based. There's schedules. It's based per thousand of the purchase price.
Okay.
I don't know exactly, but it's right around $5.
Yeah.
So $5 per thousand, and that protects you for the length of
you
owning the property. Then there's endorsements that the bank will get, such as if there is a manufactured home on the property, they'll get a manufactured home endorsement, or oil and gas, just various things that stuff that when you receive a commitment for title insurance, there are I wouldn't call them restrictions, but
maybe encumbrances or even easements.
So there'll be
things
easements
like that.
and stuff on that Schedule B,
which is all recorded on that
yeah.
property.
So there may have been a gas line easement along the front of the property.
Right.
It doesn't hurt the property by any means. It's still good to transfer, but obviously you're not going to be able to build a house on that part of the property.
Right.
So those would be an exception to the policy.
And
if you build a house on that gas line easement, you're not supposed to, so you shouldn't.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize too is, in a lot of these city neighborhoods, the sidewalks part of this easement, the power lines running down the street are in these easements.
Right.
A lot of times it doesn't restrict you, but there are certain times where if your plan is to build on this property, you want to look at this title work, see because it's all spelled out. You can't build within 35 feet of each side of this gas line. Like
if it's a platted lot, there'll be those restrictions. So those are something certainly that, especially if you are doing building, a first time builder, your builder should know those setbacks and all that other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.